Be a little bit more pungent, how about you? Ancient, yeah, sure, ancient. Let's call it ancient. Why the hell not? Ancient seabed. You know, there's a giant spider on the wall, part of living in the hill country. God, I hope I'm saying that right, because I've said it about 30 times in the video so far. Ooh.
The liquid culture.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here with me on another episode of The Liquid Culture. Today is the second episode being filmed right here in the Texas wine country, my new home and the permanent address of The Liquid Culture. Still trying to figure out the perfect location to film from. Been a little bit busy down here, haven't been able to go and scout too many locations, so today wanted to try doing it in the tasting room here. I'm already kind of concerned a little bit about the sound given the echo that's happening in here, but we'll get through it. I'll watch the video, see how the sound comes out, and need to make some adjustments, we'll make some adjustments. So if there's a little bit of an echo on this video, I apologize, guys. Just bear with me. We're gonna figure something out here. All right, so today's episode is Albarino. So Albarino is a Spanish white wine. Reason that I wanted to do this this varietal here today is because I've actually got a Spanish wine tasting dinner coming up tomorrow night. My offerings are two Albarino that come from Spain that they have some similarities to them, but they also have a couple of key differences. And I've had these bottles for a little bit, and I've really been excited about tasting them side by side. So I thought, let's do it on camera. Let's bring in a New World version to do a little compare contrast, and then I can take what's left over to the wine dinner tomorrow. So for a little bit more on Albarino, where it comes from, how the environment that it likes to grow in, and a little bit more about Rias Baixas, which is where the kind of home base for Albarino is. You can check out the write-up that's on the site. The third offering that I'm going to have today, the New World offering, is from one of my favorite winemakers, Ian Brand, which if you haven't watched my Ian Brand episode that's on the site, you gotta check that out. I won't talk a ton about Ian Brand in the video today, so if you want to know more on Ian, on his winemaking style, his philosophy, check out my project on Ian Brand. Gonna keep it to the wines today, taste them all side by side, and we'll knock them out. So let's get started. First wine up. I'm hoping I'm gonna get it right for you guys. Du Ferrerio. Albarino Cepas Vellas, 2015. This is from Rias Baixas, which again is the kind of the home base for Albarino in Spain. Again, white Spanish varietal, not really a varietal that's thought of a lot when it comes to, you know, let's go to out to dinner, when it's, you know, summertime, want to start with a nice glass of white wine. Pretty much, is it going to be Chardonnay or is it going to be Sauvignon Blanc for probably 95% of the population? Maybe you've got some Riesling drinkers in there, and for some of those who like something a little bit adventurous, maybe you're starting to, you know, tip your little toe into the pool of something like a Gewürztraminer or maybe a Gruner. Albarino, not usually thought of so much when you're trying to go for a glass of white wine, unless you're in like a Spanish tapas restaurant or something like that. For me, I think that's a little shitty, because Albarino's got a little something to offer, especially because most Albarino, you can find them in this price range of somewhere between like 12 bucks and like 55 for like the really good ones. They can get up to maybe $80 a bottle, but generally you're gonna find them somewhere in that like $20 to $40 range, and good ones, you know, good ones you can have at that price range. And it's a really nice grape. It's got this unique character to it, this kind of peachy thing. It can take on mineral components. It can take on floral aromas. It can have the citrus thing that you're looking for, but it's got a very unique palate that kind of separates it from Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. It has its own kind of thing. So Du Ferrerio, I think I'm saying that right, Du Ferrerio. This is if you read the write-up on the site, you'll see that kind of Albarino and Rías Baixas did not really come into its own until like the 80s, 90s. That's kind of how, I mean, it's been planted for a long time there in Spain, but it really didn't start, coming to prominence until that time. And if you read the write-up, you'll know why. So this is actually a winemaker who's been doing it since about the mid-70s. And in fact, something about this wine that is the reason I wanted to start with this is that the vines that these grapes came off of are actually 200-plus-year-old vines, which means pre-phylloxera, ungrafted vines. They've been in the ground for over 200 years. That means very low yield, very concentrated fruit, and it's done organic farming practices, very small plot here, very small amount of wine produced by these guys. This is their 2015. It's got a beautiful color, nice kind of golden straw kind of a color to it. I'm really excited about that. With the wine making process on this wine, you've got 12 months that it was fermented in stainless steel tanks and then allowed to rest on the dead yeast cells, the lees, for 12 months, guys. So you rest the wine on those dead yeast cells. A wine like this, it's kind of more mineral, high acid. It rests on those lees and it gets this creamier mouthfeel, takes on a little bit of this kind of yeasty, toasty kind of aroma to it, and really kind of rounds out the palate. But again, stainless steel. This has never seen any sort of oak. So on the nose, it's pretty faint. It's not as floral as I was expecting. Generally, Albarino are quite floral wines. Even like just popping the cork, you get a nice little aroma, a little bouquet. But there is some nice kind of like stone fruit, but it's not really even peach. It's more kind of like plum, which is weird. It almost, though, it even has this color of like if you've ever had like a Japanese plum wine, it takes on this kind of golden color like this, and it almost kind of smells like that. A little bit floral, but again, not super pungent. A little bit of, minerality on the nose, but again, nothing really crazy jumping out at me. Let's taste it. Ooh. That's nice. Wow. Really beautifully integrated acidity with this like creaminess on the palate. So generally with red wines we say, if it's perfectly balanced, you've got a really nice tannin to acid and body. It's all kind of integrated with each other. With this, a white wine, no tannin here, but the creaminess that you get off the aging on those lees mixed with this really nice, sharp, crisp acidity. And it didn't really on the nose, but on the palate, it has that peachy flavor. Like if you bit into a peach that's like a sweeter varietal of a peach. Down here in Stonewall, we got a lot of good peaches and a lot of different varieties, and you can really go through the gambit of peach varieties and kind of see which ones are sharper in acidity, which ones are sweeter, which ones are, ripe, underripe. You can taste them in all, mannerisms. This almost has that flavor of one of those varieties of peach that will be really sweet when it's ripe, but you're eating it maybe 2 days early. It kind of tastes like that. It's like it's got that real good sharp acidity, creaminess, a little sweetness, but not a perceived sweetness, just that kind of peachy ripeness. Wow. $55 for this bottle. I think it's totally worth it. $55 for what to some people is a little bit of an obscure white grape variety. You don't really think of it all that often. This is a wine at a 2015 vintage I think will continue to age for a while, y'all. I think that this wine could go easily another 5 years, and I think that kind of peachy thing might concentrate. It's already got a kind of a weak nose, unfortunately. Maybe it needs to, open up and express a little bit more. I've actually got it at a good temperature, so I'm not worried about that. But I think that this wine could for sure age another 5 years or so and really kind of get interesting. But right now is drinking phenomenally. $55, I think that's kind of the high end that I would want to spend on an Albarino. And I think that the Du Ferrerio, maybe, is really bringing it. I think that this is a good wine, definitely a rec on this. They also make a lower tier Albarino that the grapes are harvested from vineyards that aren't as old as this. They're able to make a little bit more of it, and it's a little bit more approachable from a price standpoint. I checked that one out as well. Also very solid. Let's move on. Okay, the next wine I have up here. So this is the Alberto Nanclair 2017 Sovaribas. 2017 on this one. So also comes from Rias Baixas, also Albarino. Not as old of grapevines on this one, guys. So 30-year-old vines instead of the 200-year-old vines that we had on the first wine here. It's a little bit cheaper at $45 a bottle. The difference with this one, guys, so back it up a little bit. Again, check the write-up out, more information on everybody, but this is more of a newcomer to the wine scene, even though I said Albarino in Spain, well, really Albarino period, is a relatively new grape to hit kind of the scene. It's been in the ground for a while, obviously, but a relative newcomer to hit the scene. This producer, Alberto Nanclair, this is a producer who's come in the mid-90s as opposed to the mid-70s, and is really kind of also going that organic route, just like the Du Ferrerio, and going the organic route, but is trying to do a little experimentation with oak aging. Also 12 months on the lees after fermentation, but instead of being left in the stainless steel tank, this one is done in French oak. I believe it's 10-year-old French oak barrel, so I don't think we're gonna get a lot of that roasty, toasty stuff that you get off the barrel, but could be a different mouthfeel, could even bring a little bit of vanilla to the party, maybe a vanilla peach combo. The color is much lighter. You guys can see this one is much more, like less so that gold thing and much more towards that very light, pale straw color, even leaning a little green there. On the nose, it's a little bit more mineral driven, I think. Well, maybe not. Not giving me a lot on the nose here, guys. What's that all about? Be a little bit more pungent, how about you? It does have a wet wood smell to it. And I don't know if I'm just picking that up as like a placebo effect because I know it was aged in the wood. I'm picking up a little bit of wood, but this one's more citrus. This one's got more citrus than the first one. Excuse me, guys. The first one had that stone fruit thing going on. This one's got more citrus going on. Definitely lemon lime, a little white flower, no honey or peach or really anything like that on it. Still that same real characteristic high acid with this wine. This one has almost a little bit more, I mean the acid, I would say that both have high acid for sure. They're in that high acid range. This one has a little bit more viscosity in the mouth, which maybe there was probably a little bit of oxidation that took place in the barrel leading to a concentration of the fruit. And you've got a little bit more of a viscosity, longer finish, lingers, but it doesn't really have that same real delicious, juicy, you know, fruity, flavorful palate that the first wine had. To be quite honest, I'm a little bit, I don't want to say I'm disappointed in the wine. Up next to the first one, the Cepas Vellas, it just is falling a little bit flat for me. It might be a wine that I might want to let kind of blow off a little bit because the acidity is really what's hanging around here. There's not a whole lot of other stuff going on other than this just real drastic acidity, lots of lemon, lots of lime, kind of citrusy thing, but that's about it. I'm kind of surprised because I was thinking that the oak might bring a little bit more to the table, but really I think what it's bringing is this viscosity in your mouth that kind of makes it linger a little bit. I think there is a little bit of that. So it's that compound that you get from oak, no matter what, no matter how old it is. Oak has a compound in it called vanillin, and it brings this vanilla character to wines no matter what. And after a year of this wine in those oak barrels, I'm thinking it's got a little bit of that kind of sharp vanilla on it, but it's not like a real creamy in your face vanilla. It's just kind of like a little vanilla like bite. I'm gonna revisit this guy. I'm certainly curious to see what my friends, my wine industry friends, think about it tomorrow night at the wine dinner. We'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll move on. Up next, my boy Ian Brand, La Marea. So this is his Christie Vineyard, 2018 Christie Vineyard Albarino. I actually picked this bottle up when I was visiting with him just about a month or so ago. I forget exactly when it was, a month or so ago. We were there in Salinas, visiting him at his production facility, checking out the barrel warehouse and all that good stuff. And he had just released a few new wines right before we had showed up. And one of them was this 2018 Albarino. They also did I forget if it was called like a secondary cut or a something cut. Of the same wine. They took some of it and they put it and let it ferment on the skins for a little bit. It didn't go that full orange wine color that you get typically with skin fermented white wines. They turned to that orange wine kind of thing. This one didn't take that color on, but it was really delicious, really unctuous in the mouth, almost tasted sweet. Just right when you took your first kind of, it hit your tongue, it had this sweet thing. You were like, oh, is this going to be a sweet wine? Swish it around, swallow it. Nice crisp acidity, really good peachy flavor components, and it just really was really nice. There was no real sweetness except for just on that front part, and it just made for a really nice supple wine. Paired it with some smoked and grilled chicken, little kind of South American dinner we were having with some sweet potatoes and black beans and this and that, and it was really nice. So this is not the skin fermented version. This is the standard version of the 2018 Christie Vineyard. So this is a wine that. This is a wine that is grown in, so it's Monterey County, and that is part of the Central Coast of California. So if we move it back a little bit and we talk about where the first two wines came from, the country is Spain, the region is Galicia, and then the sub-region would be Rías Baixas, and then within that region you have sub-zones that I think there are 5 different sub-zones within Rías Baixas, and the first two wines come from the same one. This, California, Central Coast, Monterey County, this one comes from the Christie Vineyard, which is actually a vineyard planted on an ancient, let's call it ancient. Why the hell not? Ancient seabed. So you've got a lot of that kind of limestone and kind of that like kind of shale, fossil-y, kind of sandy soils that are there, which is kind of, I mean, in Rías Baixas, you've got a lot of granite in the soil, but with this one, you get a little bit more of that kind of fossil shale kind of thing. But all 3 wines have a maritime influence. All 3 of the wines are very close to big bodies of water: Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. So you have a climate that brings these cool temperatures, these breezes, these ocean breezes, and these maritime influence, not only from the temperature standpoint, but a lot of people freaking flying here. We've got a lot of you've got a lot of people who say that they can taste the minerality, the ocean sea breeze or whatever in the wine. I didn't pick it up too much on the first 2. Maybe that was the second wine had a little bit of that kind of sea breeze, sea salinity, sea foam kind of deal going on with it, which was leading it more towards that not so juicy thing and more towards that crisp acid-driven kind of thing. With this one, I'm hoping and I'm thinking that we might find a little middle ground with the two. This one also has that pale kind of straw color that the second wine had. Okay, so this one has, so far that it is confirming what I thought, which is on the nose, you do have a very big citrus forward aroma. A lot of lemon there. But it's creeping towards that candied lemon and almost bringing some of that peach in there. It's almost bringing some of that ripe that real ripe fruit, but that it's almost like, because it's citrus driven, it's almost like that candy lemon or like a lemon candy type of aroma. But like a gummy lemon candy, not like a hard lemon candy. You know what I'm talking about. There's a difference. Yeah, floral. It's got some floral components to it. Nice and rich bouquet on this one. I'm not having to dive as deep into this one as I did with the first two. I think this one's got a little bit more of a pronounced nose on it. Smells really, really nice. Really, really tasty. I mean, they are who we thought they were, guys. They are who we thought they were. This wine has a really nice, it's like right in between these two. It's right in between these two. So it's got this mineral, good acidity, but it does have that peachy, that ripe peachy kind of quality with these floral white flowers. Like if you went out and picked a leaf off the gardenia tree and just kind of gnawed on that petal, not the leaf, the petal of the gardenia. It's got some gardenia to it. It's got some peach quality. It's got that mineral thing. It's got that lemon thing. It's a really nice in-between point from the super acidic mineral driven effort here and this one, which has this really nice unctuous palate with all kinds of different kind of stone fruit things going on and a little bit of like a honey thing. This one finds itself kind of right in between the two, and at 25 bucks, probably the play here, guys. If you are looking to dive into Albarino for the first time, this La Marea from Ian Brand, 2018 Christie Vineyard, Albarino from Monterey County, kind of an obscure wine region, kind of an obscure grape, I would probably seek this one out, guys. At 25 bucks, this is another one that'll age. I mean, Ian's been doing Albarino for a little bit now. This one right here, it's 2018, the youngest wine on the panel. I think this one will continue to age. It's got good acidity, good body. It's got really great flavor components to it that I think can really maybe, I don't know, some might fall away, some might concentrate. I'm curious to see what happens with putting some age on this wine. The Du Ferrerio, God, I hope I'm saying that right because I've said it about 30 times in the video so far. The Du Ferrerio, that is, that's the one that kind of you understand why it costs so much. This one is like 25 bucks. This is a value play here for a really solid, if you're looking to get into Albarino, you want to see what it's all about. This one brings a lot of the different components from the mineral perspective, the fruity perspective, the floral perspective, good acidity, good palate. Another winner, Ian. Good job, man. Okay, guys, that's Albarino at a glance. I would say that we have only scratched the surface by tasting these three wines here today. I think that if you really want to dive into Albarino, check the write-up on the website because I've got a lot of really good, fun information about all the producers on there, about the wines, their history, the history of Albarino, the history of that region of Spain, talking about some food pairings. I mean, all three of these wines would crush it with some seafood. I mean, pulpo, that's the number one. I mean, that's when I think of like Spanish cuisine, I'm thinking octopus that's been like slightly boiled, blanched, whatever you want to say, and then grilled to get it nice and crispy. Those little suckers are nice and crispy. Pair it with some potatoes, some chorizo. I mean, I think that all three of these wines would crush it with that wine pairing. And then even this La Marea, I'm thinking like clams. I'm thinking like clams in a white sauce with like some fettuccine or something like that. I don't know. So check out the write-up. I'll have some food pairings. I'll have some other stuff on Albarino. There is a giant spider on the wall, part of living in the hill country. He is creeping down. Also, what I noticed was as I was typing up the write-up, I took a little break on Instagram, was cruising through, and Eric Asimov, the writer for the New York Times, the wine writer for the New York Times, he just recently did a piece on Regan down here at Southold, who's trying to change the game a little bit with Texas wine. I started following him. Did a piece on Albarino, funny enough, like just posted it the other day. Very coincidental on that situation. So I would check that article out as well to see what they thought about Albarino. So, okay guys, we're still figuring out the situation here. The studio, hopefully I'll have something more permanent for you guys soon, but wouldn't be surprised if the next video is filmed in a totally different location. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Appreciate it. We'll catch you next time. Liquid Culture, Mitchell Chirac. We out. Later.